We're live with his advocates. It's not super professional. Hey, live land, YouTube land. My name is Kelby. I'm with his advocates. I'm an executive director. If you don't know, oh, now hold it up over here. Here we go. All right, make sure I'm live on that end. I think I am, Trace, but got it. I'm going to be starting and stopping the local video feeds here, so we can record these questions individually and then post them individually to YouTube, Telegram. If you don't know, we're on Telegram at His Advocates. We're on Roku, Amazon Fire, Android TV, Apple TV now. I believe it's coming up this week. Just type His Advocates, look for us. We have a channel. You can go on your phone, iPhone, or Android phone, and you can download our app, His Advocates. We are running into some technology issues where the playback on the app is a little slower. So if you want, you can just watch us on TV. You can watch a lot of stuff we post to Telegram. You can download all of our content, or we post all of it to hisadvocates.org and hisadvocates.tv to preserve it. These questions are not going to have anything relating to medical answers for obvious reasons. We're down to 0 strikes on YouTube. We're trying to keep it that way. We once had 16,000 subscribers on YouTube, and it was quite nice. We go live and have 2,000 people watching instantly. Those days are hard to build. It took me 9 years to build it, then boom. They wiped us out because I had a heyday yelling at them about how they're handling the pandemic. Anyway, so here we go. First question. I was wondering if His Advocates might be interested in switching to Ring Central over Zoom. Zoom has ownership in China and a lot of Chinese influence. Ring Central is headquartered in Belmont, California. Aaron, done. Tracy, put that on the notes. Make sure we get it done. I got to open an account at Ring Central. Are they better than Zoom? Zoom's pretty cool. I like it, but not if it's based in China. I am guardian of my sister-in-law's 2 children. How can I move them into the private when their living biological mother and father are not involved and likely would not cooperate? They are 14 and 16. All right, so if you're guardian and you have a legal custody of the 2 kids, you can do anything you need to do with them. There would have to be specially submitted paperwork with the application. Now, I think it's age, any child over, Rob, do me a favor, jump on. Let me enable chat. Hold on. Host and panelist, everyone who can see. Rob, can you type in chats now? It should be everybody. Hello, panelists, hosts and panelists, everyone. Trying to make it attendees can chat with hosts and panelists. Okay, so Rob, can you do me a favor? What is, I'm forgetting the age when you're a minor child, you need how many, at what age? I think it's all the way to 18 that you have to submit the application with either the legal guardian or the parent. So you need both parents' signature unless somebody has legal guardianship, and then they themselves could sign off, but they would need to show the legal guardianship with the passport application. But secondly, let's just get real here. I know very few kids that do not think the driver's license is the coolest schnizzle thing in the world. I really don't. There are ways to get the driver's license and hold it without being contracted per se. There are ways to recontract existing driver's licenses. There's ways to get a minor child a driver's license and then go through our DMV documents and recontract with the DMV. But are your children going to want to do that? Are your children going to want to be free, meaning the kids you're guardianship over? And, you know, my kids got to listen to me for 10 years. talking about this stuff. And they went and did whatever they wanted to do. And I always know that they're going to come back. 16 years and older can apply for a passport without a parent's signature or consent. So your 16-year-old's okay. The 14-year-old would need you to prove guardianship, which means legal custody or ownership and ability to, not ownership, but the ability to submit the application on the child's behalf. And the reason they do this, guys, is because there's parents that will move out, like a father will move out of country and then take the kids and take them out of the country without permission from the mother, and the mothers never get the kids back. And I've seen this happen several times. But to finish up, you got to really find out, does the kid want to be private? Otherwise, it's much easier to make a kid private and keep them private from a very young age with structure, and where they're not wanting the driver's license, or they're not wanting these elements and these things, because you can go a long way with just a passport. You can go a long way with an international driver's license. You can go a long, and those things do not contract with the United States. I mean, they do, but the passport, the way that we do the passport process doesn't contract with the corporate United States. It's done with full reservations of rights as a state of the union citizen, and we fight them and get everybody passports. So there is a way to be a private state citizen, even at a young age, but you got to train them up right. And it's very hard because they're smoothed over with college, they're smoothed over with all these things. And I'm watching, they don't come back around till like 21, 22, 23. So just consider that, but it's your call. But we can show you how to do that driver's license where the kid is not contracted per se with the local DMV. And if they already are, we can restructure that with our DMV docs that everybody does when they go through the living and the private process. All right. Thanks for your help there, Rob. Okay, here we go. As I begin to place income and expense from my business into a foundation, is there anything formal I should be doing? I am creating a PayPal that will connect with my current site. Other than switching on that, what else needs to be done? For example, I've told people on the website checkout that they are now a member of the PMA. Is there anything else that needs to be done? You may want just your terms of service to reflect private versus public, even though you're on a public website. The fact that they are becoming and agreeing to becoming a member of the private, you cannot charge tax. You should not. You have to make sure that you're not collecting that tax, and then because you don't have authority to be contracted with any state agency or what have you. The bank's easy, PayPal's easy, the online checkouts, they can pretty much do anything. Like, we don't charge taxes on our website. As far as anything else, you just have to look at all the contracts that you already have. Make sure that you're selling the assets. If you purchased a foundation with us, then there's an income, not an income, but a sales transfer thing, and sell your assets from the corporation to the foundation. It's a private agreement. Nobody ever needs to see it, but you have a properly effected trail. Then you're going to shut down the corporation with a letter to the Secretary of State and make sure you end that. And it's very simple. I, Secretary for XYZ Corporation, and hereby ending this fiscal year, this name of this company, and shut it down. And then make sure you make the domain name, you include the domain name, you include any assets that you have, any stock that you have, any whatever. And then the relationships that you have, you need to make sure you get new account numbers set up with the relationships. So if you're like got a buy rate with an existing company, just make sure they're changing the name on that You don't need to necessarily change the account number if you can get them to change the name. So sometimes like you just don't want any trail of the old company with the old tax ID number. So all of those people are going to need the new tax ID number and the new name onto that same or existing account that you may have. So you can keep an account, but you gotta change at least the tax ID number and the name. Is there any need for foundation setup for personal expenses and personal business and then separate one from what was previously my LLC? No. And you know that you sound like you're trained, and we all were, into thinking you have to have a separation of personal and versus quote unquote what you're structurally doing through a foundation. The difference is the foundation should be the contracted party for a lease. It should be contracted party for your title on your home. You should put the bills of the home in the name of the foundation, and make sure that you're paying everything through that foundation. Number one, it's an asset protection routine. It's like asset protection 101. But number two, you don't ever want personal anything. I know you want a personal foundation, but there's no need, unless you're in your mind thinking I need to separate. Just, I could sell you stuff all day long, but I'm telling you right now, you don't need it. You simply just, everything you do through like HISadvocates. That's what we do. It handles everything. And then anybody that's getting anybody that's has their own foundation is structurally set up the same way. And it's because I'm dedicating everything I do to God. I don't believe I can own anything. And our foundations are set up that way, that Yeshua is the beneficial interest on all things. And we're just operating as the executive director, managing director, or what have you, God's business, quote unquote. I don't like the word business, but God's things. And that's not only protected under IRS code, which I really don't care about, because we're not a party to that, but you can't be touched with a 10-foot pole. It's when people are still mingling with personal bank accounts, and are having funds go into there or set up. Like I have Cash App, I have Zelle, I have Passport, I have, all those apps structured up through the tax ID number for banking that we got from the IRS for banking purposes only, as a private, unregistered, whatever they classified in their system, trust, PMA, foundation, I don't care. So I really don't care about the separation unless you feel you need to know what your personal spending habits are. There's no need. It's like when somebody asks, what's my income? My income is zero. And that's a legitimate, lawful statement. And people say, well, do you, and I don't need to answer your questions. You know what I mean? I don't answer questions. Thank you. I don't answer questions. I'm not here to be at your beck and call. You know what I mean? This is private. And that's what is the power of what we do. Private is none of their business. They have no jurisdiction over it. Like the IRS will talk about private foundations, but they will never, ever say the words unregistered foundation. They will never say that. So you think and correlate immediately private. Oh, this is private. Then mine's private. No. Anything that you have that belongs to God is God's, and the IRS code protects that. I just want you to know that. So, and the fact that it's unregistered, it means that there's no jurisdiction over that except his. When purchasing property, all cash, what are the steps to not publicly record it, and how is the deed structured? That's like a loaded, huge hour question, and you have to have docs, and it depends on the county recorder. And I've actually gone pretty in depth. And so Tracy, on that question, if you could send her some of our real estate related questions so that she can dig. In a nutshell, I'm going to give you some very top looking down without knowing the details answers. And mind you, I am a licensed real estate broker in California. I'm probably considered an expert at transactions in a local, in a county recorder or in loans or what have you. I've done every element of real estate transactions, mostly on the loan side. And that's really the most important side in getting anything done in reference to a sale of a house or a purchase of a house. So your question is, how do you do a private purchase? Well, when you're dealing with a seller, this is the problem. You're both getting original deeds, okay? If you don't record your deed, which you have every right to not record a deed, it's one of the questions on the broker's exam, and you have to ask yourself, what are the ramifications? Well, what's going to happen when this guy gets another bill? He's going to send them the deed. They're going to stamp it, thank you, and send it back to him. So now you've got a recorded deed, so it doesn't work. The only way is if you can control both ends of the transaction. So you got to purchase first, and then you got to sell it to yourself again to a private trust. And there's many things that have to be done, and they fight. They fight it because they know what you're doing. There is no law that requires you to record a property in the county recorder. As a matter of fact, you can look up what is a counter deed in Black's law. And a counter deed is a private unrecorded deed that trumps the recorded deed when presented. And this is wise because people have a right and an obligation, if they want to keep their business private, to not record something into the county recorder's office. But today they're doing stuff different with you're not, the deeds of the old days, were buy gold, buy hand, and there's stuff that we share with people. And Tracy just posted the real estate related stuff inside the chat. Buy gold, buy hand for valuable consideration using meets and bounds fee simple. Look up fee simple. It's absolute title. We help people all the time. If they need to do a deed, we ask them to go get a deed. We charge for it. It's not very expensive, but we ask them to go get a deed from their local county. Every county is a little bit different. They bring us a PDF. We doctor up the PDF. That's not a negative word. It's not a fraudulent word. Why? Because they accept the way that we do it, and they recorded it, and it's because it's a lawful way to record. What people are doing today is FRNs. They're including the government on every transaction that they do. They're using a legal description that is not land. It's above the land. They're basically a recording as a joint tenant or tenant in common, and that's not ownership at all. And if you read it, you understand it. It's a tenant. You're a tenant, and you're not a freehold estate. And there's just many mistakes on deeds that people don't know. And so there's a couple different things as well that you should take into consideration. Even when you finally do end up recording that way, I get it. You're trying to get out of taxes. That's not an issue. You're also trying to, when you unrecord, it's the same thing as sitting on a land patent, because the only thing underneath the general recorder's office in Orange County or any other county are the patents that all those recordings sit on. And so people are always trying to affect and bring forward a patent or accept a patent. Patents of trust, there's a grantor, there's a grantee, and those are called assigns. And you're not an assign on a patent, but you can get the same. And that's why I'm saying, don't try to record a portion of a patent, or don't try to accept a portion of a patent, because people are taking these patents and then they're showing that they have ownership rights as a land patent, and then they record that in the county recorder. And I've seen people have a color of law of help. I've seen people get hurt. I've seen people get arrested. So I don't go down that road because it's somebody else's patent, unless you're an obvious family member that is a true assign or um, true right to that patent. There's a simple way to sit on that patent, and by unrecording the property from the county recorders, and all those counties have a form. And if you're living in the private process, we give you a copy of a FOIA request that you can ask them for that form. But they know what you're going to do with that. They don't want to give you the form to unrecord the property. You can only by the way, for everybody listening, you can only unrecord a property that is without encumbrance, meaning no loans, no liens, no mechanics liens, free. And then a lot of times I want you to use their form. And if they don't, by force and effect, you change ownership. And this is what I explain in some of these videos, and how to do that transaction where you're selling the property to yourself. And that's much more extensive. And again, we have helped people accomplish this. And we've had people write their deed by hand and it gets accepted. You should see some of the old stuff that was done. One of my friends manages the all deeds down in the basement of Los Angeles. Every deed up to 1967. I got to see the land patent books. They're like this tall off the floor. They're like this fat, and I got to see real signatures from presidents, and took a bunch of pictures, and I took pictures of all the deeds, and I'm like, it blew my mind how they used to do deeds. And so why can't we do deeds that way anymore? They wanted to trick us. They wanted to bring us into a legal description instead of the measurements of the land, meets and bounds. And they wanted us to own nothing and control everything. And that's who these guys are. And so by doing what we're doing, we're taking the land back. And that's huge. And it's an awesome opportunity, but it's not as easy as people think, and they will fight you. And every transaction is different. Do you recommend purchasing in the legal name or in the foundation name? So if you're buying from somebody else, you're going to want to get clear title insurance dated back. You want to go all the way back as far as you can on the title insurance. But they're not going to insure it for a foundation name because it's an unrecorded foundation. And if you know anything about title, or you know anything about banks, you know anything about insurance, these guys are getting prepaid off the birth bonds. And so generally they need either a corporation or they need you. And without getting in too deep, purchasing in your name is not a problem, and doing an immediate transfer into your foundation name, it's just a paper trail. That's one of the ways to have effect. But if it were me, I would probably purchase it in an LLC and then transfer it to a private foundation if you're using cash. If there's any pushback from the county recorder title company, can you help with resources? Yes. Meaning, because people are listening to this, meaning if you're trying to purchase a house privately. We are currently purchasing property, and we want to set up a transaction correctly on the onset. Talk to Tracy. You can set up a consult. We'll talk to you, or we can, give you the videos to watch, and you can do it on your own. It is work. It is not going to be easy. They do not want to let these things go, but it can be done. Somebody told me I couldn't record a lien against 650 homes for a municipality when I had a judgment in federal court against them. And I did it. It said I couldn't do it against a governmental agency, and I did it. It took time, took 4.5 hours, 2 marshals standing behind me with hands on their belts, getting ready to arrest me. And I just very politely kept calm, kept telling the guy, this is what I'm ordering you to do. And they recorded it. So I'm going to tell you right now, anything that somebody says you can't do, understand they can't. It's like you giving them your wallet unknowingly, like they were going to keep it as their asset. That's what a recording it's like a registering of your house in the local county recorder's office. You know, I have true manufacturer statement of origin on like cars or motorcycles or whatever. That's true title. And I'm never going to hand that to the state. If the state will give me registration without giving them the title, then not a problem. But why do I need to give you title to register my car? And then you give me a certificate of title that's worthless to me because I am paying you a fee for the rest of my life to keep that car or keep that motorcycle. So people don't understand that it's not what these guys are doing right now is fraud by inducement. It's like completely ridiculous. And we failed for lack of knowledge and understanding what's happening when you're making a deposit to the county recorder's office. I'm downloading the FDIC video right now. It's a 3-hour video of the FDIC talking about the crash that's imminent with umpteen trillions in accounts insured with 200 billion of money in the bank. The run on the banks is coming. And this video we posted on a blog, and I just did the YouTube embed to my website, and YouTube went crazy and said, no, you can't do that. I've not seen that one yet. And so I was able to find the video again. I downloaded it and I'm going to upload it. But basically they're talking about a crashed economy coming. And you don't want your retirement in anywhere. I'm telling everybody right now, be careful, because your retirement's going to get clipped. Your bank account, any cash you have in an account is going to get clipped, if not completely stolen. You're going to get stock in the bank because that's what you agreed to on your signature card. And people don't know that. And people have no idea what's about to happen. So we have to be careful about what assets we're giving freely over. Like making a cash deposit into a bank account, it's theirs. You're receiving a credit on account. That's it. And you're getting stock in the event that they have to steal that cash and close your account. So we got to be careful with what we're doing with our assets. Like, what are they going to do when everything that's digital or everything that's fiat goes into digital? That means every single bank is going to shut their door. We're going to have a holiday, and they're going to do something like shut down the power for a period of time. Klaus Schwab is talking about a cyber attack. They just had another meeting, like Event 201, right before the COVID hit. They just had another one where they're talking about the pending cyber attack that will shut down all the grids. Crud, are you serious? So that's how you get it done. You shut down the grids, shut down the power, you come up with the new system. So we have to be careful with what we're doing with our assets. I'm not going to give any more assets. I'm not going to give them power over my titles, my gold, my silver, my anything. And everything that I have belongs to God. And so I'm a fiduciary, and I'm responsible for that. So just take that into consideration. So when you go live on YouTube, will it say live on your channel? Yeah, it should. It should. You can see this on the channel on YouTube, or you can see this here, obviously. So, okay, here. Please explain the passport process. And I already have cars that are registered. How can I get them out of the system? On the first address with the cars, there are people on YouTube that talk about how to gain access to the MSO. Once again, where you can get a duplicate copy of the MSO back from the state. I don't try to get that. I do things that I know I can control, and I win 100% of the time. But even if you get the duplicate copy of the MSO and the Black's Law definition of duplicate, it's an original copy. It doesn't mean that you have now an unregistered car with that state. So there's a process that you would have to do to unregister the car with the state. And I just don't know about that. So, but there are people that will help you with that on YouTube, but that's not something that we do. On the second part of the question, I'm going to stop and start the recording. On the second part of the question, please explain the passport process. Nobody does what we do out there in passport land. I want to first address what other people are touting. Other processes out there are putting social securities on the application. Other processes are making claims of being a state national or a state or a national of the United States. And I want you first and foremost, without putting people's efforts down to be free. I love and respect all those people that are trying to become free. A state of the union citizen is the only thing that has hundreds of Supreme Court rulings establishing in law the difference of a United States citizen and a state of the union citizen. I have proven before many times that a national of the United States are not free, and they are subject to the District of Columbia, and I've proven that. So the only thing that is correct is a state of the union citizen. And if you read Black's Law, it's a body of people. That means a body of people are recognized under God because you're making a claim to the Declaration of Independence right there in our explanatory statements on our docs. Doesn't mean you're a saved Christian. People out there have twisted what I've said before, and I've never said that you have to be a Christian to be a state citizen. I'm just saying you are in fact making allegiance to the state in which you were born on, which has under it the Declaration of Independence from a law construct in the Constitution for the United States of America. So we send in, you purchase a passport process, you get a support ticket. Everything's done through the support ticket. If you have issues and you ask questions and we answer them on the support ticket. If you have further issues, we have a support phone number. It's an 800 number. We ask that you try to hit one of these meetings first so that you can get the support that you need, or go to the 1,200 answered questions that we have on our knowledge base on HISadvocates.org under the videos that you can watch where I've discussed different things. If you can't get answers there, come here. If you can't get answers here, call our 800 number. There's no excuses. There's no bad customer service. There's no complaints against this ministry. And that's a huge thing because we give complete. And if you can't get answers there, you got a blog. We have open blog for anybody to talk to each other. You can't get answers there. You're a VIP member. You can ask other VIP members. There's no excuses. We will help you 100% through the process. You will get rebutted by the Department of State. We will write letters in response. Might be 2, might be 1, might be 3 letters, sometimes 4, very rare, but we'll get you a passport. So long as you are not a deadbeat dad. And if you have IRS issues, we still have helped people with IRS issues. It's better if you're in a payment plan, but we're working on techniques for people with over $50,000 in debt with IRS. And there's things that have to be considered there. But we can help pretty much anybody. And so long as you're not an international drug trafficker convicted or an international child kidnapper convicted. We can't help you then. All right. Once I have purchased the living in the private, is there some type of PMA involved to operate my business in the private? Yes. We create it for you within the living in the private program. We give you all the tools. We give you a W-9 in case vendors need it, properly done as a state citizen with no jurisdiction granted. We help you establish a bank account. We help you with knowledge. Look, I've done thousands of foundations in helping people transfer away from the public to the private sector. And very rare can somebody not get an account. If you follow our instructions, The mistakes that people make is they walk into a bank and they go into argument mode and they say, we're a tax exempt organization, we're this, we're that. No. And we had something similar to that happen with somebody just recently. And I said, look, go to the bank, set up an appointment, tell them you want them to talk to your private counsel. And I literally walked her through her screens, and it took me about maybe 10 minutes, and he had an account. And this guy's a rascal. Just leave it at that. But he had an account. So don't worry about it. We walk you guys through this process 100%. We're there to help you guys. And we have, again, 1,200 answered questions now posted on YouTube, on Telegram, on HISadvocates.org, on Roku, on Amazon Fire, on Android TV, soon to Apple TV. We're on TV, yes. Just look us up, HISadvocates, and you can start just shifting through the channels. It's kind of crazy seeing yourself up on a screen, but we put the Q&As, some of the Q&As up on there, and we're going to start putting a lot more for people to get their questions answered. And so there's total hand holding on this. You have no issues with that. How difficult is it to open up my foundation into my Wells Fargo bank? Wells Fargo is pretty easy. Wells Fargo is pretty good. Bank of America is good. We do Umpqua Bank. There's several banks. The thing is that you want to do it in a private capacity, and that's what we teach you. Sorry, my phone. Same thing for car ownership. Veronica, answer that a little bit better. I'm not going back to what you need. Anonymous attendee. I love anonymous attendees. Would there be any ethical way to learn to transfer land, real estate as a business, such as real estate agents, but without deceit, and if learning it for the first time? Yeah, 100%. That's, you have to, when you understand title and the true way to affect title, it's just a matter between you and the guy that you're going to record it with. And the difference of having a freehold estate is, like, some counties, like when you have fee simple recorded, I don't know if I answered your question, Dr. V, or not, but when there's so many different elements that are at play with recording transactions in county recorders. Every county has a little bit different process and pushback, but are you doing it for the purposes of being private? Are you doing it for the purposes of not paying taxes? Are you doing this for the purposes of, because there's several different ways and solutions, because if you record this in a foundation, you can just simply fill out the form as an exempt party, and they can't even charge you tax on the property. It's a fact in law. Your exemption is it's right under the IRS code. It's not, whether you are registered or unregistered doesn't negate the exemption ability. Then if you unrecord the property from the county recorder's office, you do lose the benefit, quote unquote, of police, fire, potentially trash, whatever. And you can record all those privately. I guarantee if you call 911, they're not going to look at the county recorder to determine if you're private or public. But there is nothing in what we do that's in any regards deceitful at all. This is their law that they've created for themselves. and they just think that everybody is so stupid there. And we really were and are in a lot of cases, because we don't know what it means to bring something, your asset, and give it to them. You think you're just getting a certificate of title. No, you've handed your asset over. It's theirs. Not just theirs, they've recorded it as a joint tenant. You're using FRNs, which there's a long-standing Supreme Court ruling that they are a party to the transaction now, meaning they are at play in that transaction. This is why you use gold, you use silver, you do it by hand for valuable consideration, using metes and bounds, fee simple as a grant or warranty deed. And then you record that. And sometimes the county recorder does not invoice you from that point forward for the state, because it is a freehold. And I tell people freehold means it's absolutely free, meaning it's fee simple. Go look at the definitions of fee simple. So sometimes that alone as a recorded document gets it done. And then sometimes you got to fight it and then maybe even unrecorded to get it done. There's so many different things that you're dealing with. And maybe we need to do a seminar on how to just, look at California real estate law and break it down for people and what it would be to get a single transaction done. But then you would have to duplicate that with other statute and code with other states. And this is why we don't offer services to do it. We just try to train people. And we do help people with the deeds, meaning if they need us to do the deed for them, we charge a few $100. We'll do the deed for you. But that doesn't guarantee that they're not going to bill you on a tax, but it does guarantee that you're a freehold estate, meaning in fee simple, that the government is not a party to that transaction by gold, by hand, and then you can dig in to the ground because you are the landowner. So it's pretty neat. So we own vacation property with our daughter and son-in-law. If we become private, they do not know how is the tax handled for the property and for the rental income. So if you put the property into a foundation, there is no rental income. It is compensation for basically the foundation and you as the executive director, managing directors, allowing for people to spend time in the vacation rental. It's nothing needs to be reported. Nothing needs to be filed on these types of entities. It's right there in the IRS code. And even if it weren't in the IRS code, it's an unregistered entity. And those types of entities have no obligation. It's like being a foreign entity with respect to the United States. Anything outside of the District of Columbia is foreign, anything. And so does a indigenous person of Iceland, which there are none, need to pay taxes to the IRS? The answer is big fat donut. It's no different than an unregistered entity outside or inside of the District of Columbia. An unregistered entity is not something. See, if you use a corporation, you're registering it at the Secretary of State, or if you use a DBA, you're registering it in the county recorder. Those are entities, corporations that belong to them. They're giving you a use right of that name. Okay. And they're checking it against every other name so that you don't trample on other people's use rights. And so you, in fact, being private as a foundation, have no obligation to file a return. So you can do anything you want with that quote unquote compensation that you're receiving from the rental company or from the people directly. And we do have a lot of people that do that. Dr. V, what was your question? I didn't see a question. Oh, so you handled it.
Well, it is two Veronicas on here, so she got mixed up with Veronica K. She thought you were speaking of her, is all.
Perfect. I don't see any more questions.
There are none.
Tracy, I think you did a fantastic job handling your mute button the way that you have. Thank you very much. All right, guys, we're going to shut this thing down. We got a VIP show in an hour. So thank you, Dr. V. great class. You
Hey,
are a
thank you,
really
too.
good woman. Hey, Dr. V, whatever happened with that last call, you gotta let me know. God bless you guys. Thank you for joining VIP show in 1 hour, hisadvocates.org. If you are a VIP member, you're going to get a text and an email